Hello, welcome back to our homestead. My name is Natalie, and today I would like to show you how I make strawberry jam using fresh or frozen strawberries. Now, our grandmothers never used pectin, if you could imagine that. You do not have to use pectin in this recipe, but today I want to show everyone who is interested in using pectin. Pomona's pectin is the only one that I recommend, and you can also use this with honey or sugar. This is what bulk pectin that I buy from Pomona's looks like. So I never really buy it in the box because it's super expensive. So I highly recommend finding it in bulk. Of course, I don't know if you can see that, but the date says January of 23. And this is 2025. So it lasts a really long time in your pantry and you don't have to worry about it spoiling. So buying in bulk definitely has its advantages. So the weather has been wonderful here. We've had an early spring. And what I mean by that is that it was warmer earlier and we really didn't have like this cold hard freeze that we usually do late April. And so everything bloomed early, including basically all the daylilies and the dandelions and the lilacs came out about the same time. And it was, I just started noticing some things like the first week of March, and I thought, wow, we're gonna get a late freeze and all of this is gonna go away. But it hit about 31, 32, and it didn't kill off everything. And so strawberries were really, really early this year. So out of our strawberry patch, we picked everything. And we also usually go to a local strawberry patch that has some of our favorite strawberries. They are so good. So I highly recommend if you have a local place that you can pick, that is the best way to get strawberries because they are actually at the top of the Dirty Dozen list. So if there's an opportunity for you to go find fresh strawberries, pick as many as you can, freeze them, preserve them how you want, and you can eat them all year. That is how I feed my family. Good food, good fruit, and a safer option than the grocery store. So what we do when we pick our own strawberries is we just come home and we set up a station outside, like a wash station, and I get a big tub and I just put one flat of strawberries in there at a time and we just wash them. We strain them, we dry them, we cut any bad spots out and the tops, and I can freeze them, I can dehydrate them, and I can make them into jam. There's all kinds of things that you can do with fresh fruit like that. So literally we do that all in one day because I would be really overwhelmed if I spread it out for 2 or 3 days. So the fresher you can get your fruit into the freezer or dehydrator, the better they will be for you and taste. So with that, let's go ahead and get started and make our jam. All right, so I have my boxes of jars that I'm going to be using, and these are pint and half pint. And usually the half pint, I save those for Christmas gifts or just a friendly gesture to neighbors or anything like that. So most of the time we will use pints for our family. And what I'm going to do with these is just wash them in hot soapy water. Now, the recommendation used to be to boil your lids, rings, and jars. I have never done that, and part of the reason is because I've had friends in the past, 20 years always say, oh, I just wash them in hot soapy water, and I've known other older canning ladies to say the same thing, and so I took my chances, and that is how I do it. And I just rinse in cold, turn them upside down on a tea towel, let them dry while I'm cooking my jam. And that has always worked for me. But if you feel more comfortable boiling these, go ahead and do that. Don't take any advice on that end for your safety if that is something that you prefer. So I wanted to show you this real quick before we got started. My girls got me this tea towel for Mother's Day. How perfect. It has little strawberries on it. Perfect for strawberry jam on in May, and Mother's Day is in May. And so just, it's really cute. So I wanted to share that real quick, but I'm going to go ahead and get started washing these and drying these. All right, we're gonna have to use another towel. I like this one. It says Live Simply. It was also a gift. So we're gonna use that one. And you're probably wondering why I'm washing like 120 jars. And that's because I have 2 stock pots full of strawberries. So one I think is full of, I think 56 cups. The other one is 48 or something like that. So I made note, don't worry, I will follow a recipe. But for those that don't like to follow recipes and want to just use strawberries and either honey or sugar, don't forget that lemon juice activates the pectin in your jam, in your fruit. So the ratio to that is 1 tablespoon of lemon juice to 2 cups of strawberries. So if you wanted to use that recipe with no pectin, you are more than welcome to do that. So all you do is add your lemon juice to your boiling strawberries and your preferred sweetener, whether it's honey or sugar, and you're just going to boil that down and boil that down and boil that down until you see the thick gel part of jelly and jams that we all like. So once that is like that, you can hot pack your jars and that is it. So that's the beauty of doing it the old-fashioned way, which I've done before. I like both, but this recipe is actually going to be the pectin one, and we will get to that as soon as I get these jars finished. Okay, here is 1 stock pot. And this one is the big one, the big 56, huge. Okay, so remember we talked about the recipe for Pomonas. Some people get really confused about the directions, so I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. It comes with instructions and it comes with some packets. I don't know if you can see that, but it comes with several packets of calcium water. And so this is really important that you use this actually in this recipe, because this is what helps preserve it, because in the grocery store pectin, they have preservatives in it, and Pomona's does not. And so this calcium actually helps prolong the shelf life of the jam. Okay, so for the amount of calcium that I need to make, I'm going to use a pint jar and 1 cup of water. I will take a picture, a screenshot of the recipe, and I'll show you right after I'm done with this, so you know the proper amount to make for your house. Okay, so for me, and the amount of calcium that I need for all of these cups of strawberry is at least a couple tablespoons. So I'm going to go ahead and get that made. So all I did was pour the right amount of calcium powder right into the cup of water. And I'm going to use this based on how many cups I have in each stock pot. And I'm going to measure that out. And then I'm going to turn it on and boil that down. All right, this is where bulk cooking gets really fun, because you have to use your math skills. Not my strong suit, by the way. So I have 56 cups of strawberries in here, and I am reading the insert from the Pomona's Pectin. So don't worry about my math if it doesn't match up with yours. If you're just cooking 8 cups, this is going to be really simple. But for me, I've got to really do some multiplying and dividing. So 56 cups, I'm going to multiply that by, I'm going to divide that by 1 recipe, which is 4 cups, and that comes out to 14. That tells me how much calcium water I need, which is what I just made. And I need 2 teaspoons. That's one recipe. So what I'm going to do is times it times 2, because I need 2 teaspoons, and that's 28. So for 56 cups of strawberries, I need 28 teaspoons of calcium water. For you, all you have to worry about is the one recipe. So I will link that below this video so you can actually have it. But it is 4 cups of mashed fruit to either a half a cup or a whole cup of honey or sugar. And this is the beauty about Pomona's pectin, is that you can choose. It is a low sugar pectin. And to add to that would be 2 teaspoons of pectin and 2 teaspoons of calcium water. So that's the full recipe condensed. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the calcium water, and we will get this baby rolling. Okay, we are going to give this a really good stir. And then we're going to continue to cook this down. Okay, so when you have fresh strawberries, it does not take as long to cook your strawberries down. But if they're frozen, you're going to have to cook them down a little bit longer because the water in them needs to evaporate, and that's okay. Okay, so as this is cooking down, I'm going to add my pectin and sugar together in a large bowl. And the reason why I do that is because I'm avoiding lumps in my jam. So if you've ever cooked jam before, doesn't matter what fruit it is, if you've poured your pectin and sweetener in, sometimes it gets lumpy, and that's because the sweetener was not incorporated enough with your pectin. So it's the pectin that gels, and so if you want to avoid that, the best idea is to either stir it really well with your honey or your sugar, and once you dump it in there slowly and you're stirring, it doesn't have any lumps. It's really great. So anyway, that's my little tip for the day. Okay, so this is my sugar, and I'm going to add the pectin to this sugar, and I'm going to stir it really, really well. Okay, so this is 28 teaspoons of pectin, and so now I'm going to just stir that into my sugar. And again, the reason why we do this is because, whoops, I'm sorry, you do not want lumps in your jam. So it is easy as that. Okay, so I left my sugar on the counter, and this is what makes jam really fun, is that you can do these little incremental steps and just kind of leave them set, and everything just kind of takes care of itself on the stove. But I wanted to show you real quick what, I don't know if you can see that. So see that foam right there? The strawberries will have foam on the top, which is perfectly normal and fine with me. Some people do not like it because it just gets too tall, and sometimes when you can them, it ends up having foam on top, and someone just doesn't like how it looks. It doesn't really bother me, but I stir and stir while these are cooking down. And if you really don't like the foam on the top, what you can do is take a tad bit of butter and put it in there, and the foam will disintegrate quite a bit. So that is a little tip on jamming strawberries. I don't typically do it. I just jam it like it is, and my kids don't seem to mind. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I take my immersion blender. It is not an expensive one. You can get cheap ones. But if you have one at home, this is really great for things like jamming or applesauce or anything that you want to puree, even soups. I love this for soups. So what I'm going to do, instead of taking a potato masher and smashing the strawberries, is I'm going to blend them as they're cooking down. Okay. All right. much faster and easier than using a potato masher. It is hot in the kitchen, so we are ready for the sugar pectin mixture being poured in the strawberries because the water has diminished just a little bit and it is a good rolling boil. So we are now ready. I'm going to see if I can turn this real quick so you can see this. This is kind of the part where it's important to go slow a little bit. You don't want lumps in your jam. And I have this on low if anybody's curious. I just have it a low rolling boil, and that way it's not going to overflow when you're stirring it. I have never had that happen, nor do I want to. All right, make sure you're stirring pretty vigorously. Stir it well. Okay. Good. It's looking pretty thick. It's what you're wanting to see. Okay, I'm going to pour the rest in because it looks pretty good. All right. I don't see any lumps. All right, let's see here. All right, I see some chunks of strawberries, but I actually like that. So if you can see, the consistency is very, very thick. Let me raise that up a little bit. You can see it against the backsplash. So that gelled is what you want to see. And if you are not using pectin, what you do is just boil that sugar down and that water down a lot to where it is reduced quite a bit, the moisture. And when you do a little test in your spoon and you kind of see it gelled up, then you know you're ready for hot packing. Okay, I'm going to leave this on low for just a little bit until all the sugar and pectin's dissolved. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this up to a medium high, but I want a rolling boil because I'm going to boil this for like 2 minutes to get super thick. And then after the 2 minutes, we are done and ready to hot pack this jam. Okay, it's been vigorously boiling for 2 minutes, and so now we are done with that part. I'm going to turn the heat off, and now we are ready to hot pack. Okay, so we're going to use pint jars for our family, and then lids and rings. And I use half pints for company or gifts for neighbors or Christmas presents, things like that. You're also going to need a long ladle because sometimes ladles fall into the pot and you want a long one so you can make sure that you can work quickly. Also, you need a funnel. So all you're going to do is you're going to funnel your jam right into the jar. It should look like that. Sorry, it's hard to hold. It gets kind of hot, so be careful. And if you've watched any of my previous videos about any kind of water bathing or canning, you want to make sure that your liquid stops about right there. So I'll do this over here where you can see it. So, okay. So I've already got a clean towel, and what you want to do is take that and clean the rim off of any jam that you have on your jar. place your lid on, place your ring on. There it goes. I don't know if you can see that, sorry. Okay. And yes, I do use my lids a second time. I've been asked that before. I'm perfectly fine with it because my lids are not damaged. Now, if they are nicked at all and you see damage on the rubber seal, I would not use that one because you're not going to get a good product out of all of your efforts. It's important to remember that as you're hot packing these, your pot of strawberry jam needs to be super hot, almost boiling. So I'll leave it on a low simmer as I am filling my jars, and I will just keep hot packing those. And if they get to where it's too hot and it's boiling too much, I'll turn it off. But it's a balance between leaving it to the point where it's just barely boiling or really, really super hot, close to 200 when you are filling your jars. Because if you don't, that vacuum seal will not happen and those lids will not seal. So make sure your lids are clean, your rings are on fairly tight, and you are hot packing those at least 200 degrees, if not more. Okay, I'm going to get busy and do some more jars. And if you notice, I don't know if you can see in here, but I don't have a whole lot of foam. So those who don't like foam, I completely understand, but I really don't think it's a big deal. So far, so good. Sorry, I'm not very good at showing this part because it is so hot. So, all right, I'll show you the end product in just a minute. So I wanted to show everyone what my funnel looked like. So if you run your finger along the jam when it's cool, it should be really, really thick. You know it is set and ready to go. So I have no worries what my jam in my jars look like. All right, so now we are ready for the second pot. And how I did that was just I incrementally heated them back up. So the first one I heated up to the very end of the process, and on the second pot I made sure that it was just warm enough to where when I was ready I was going to heat it back up to the boiling point, and then I was ready to jar the second batch. So that's it. Okay, we are done with both stock pots, and I had a little bit left from this jar and I wanted to show you how it is already set up. So pretty cool. It is very gelled. You can see that. And this is what's on my plate. It doesn't go anywhere. So this is what this should look like when it is ready to be hot packed. So let's go count our jars. Well, thank you so much for coming. I loved sharing this recipe with you. This has been a family favorite for many years, probably at least, I would say anywhere around 20 to 25 years. So my kids, this is their favorite. We love strawberry jam. We love peach jam. But I would say overall, the majority of us would say this is where it's at. 98 cups of strawberries is what I calculated. And this made 50.5 pints total. So for every 98 cups of strawberries, it made 50 pints of jam. So if that helps anybody know kind of the overview of what I did today, it can be done. It's a lot of work, but it is good work. Good morning, everybody. We are into the next day. Our family's had breakfast already, and I have already taken off all the rings to the jars. So yesterday I calculated 98 cups of strawberries that made 50 pints of jam. So very pleased with the work here. Our family works so hard on preserving all year long. So this is really exciting. Sometimes I'll have a lid that didn't seal, and that might be because I have a rubber seal that maybe went bad, or a jar that has a nick in it. But today, these all sealed. And if you have an unsealed jar, don't stress, don't worry about it. Just water bath that for about 20-25 minutes and you should be fine. So I do want to show you how I kind of test that. I know I've shown you in other videos, but I just hold the jar and I lift the lid just a little bit, and I kind of make sure that middle part is down and it looks like the jars are sealed. Now, you may have noticed that I have lids that are written on, and that's because they're already used. I have reused lids 2, 3, 4, and 5 times. And so I got that advice from a veteran canner. I'm not too worried about it anymore as long as it seals. It looks like it did the job. But if you're not comfortable with that, go ahead and use new lids. I really love this recipe from Pamona's, and I will leave that in the description below so you can have a condensed version. I know this probably looks overwhelming, but I feed a lot of people, and that's just how I do it. Now, I started out really slow, so don't be overwhelmed if you're not cooking 50 pints at a time. When you practice at something, you can make a lot of progress. So don't worry, don't stress about what this looks like. Start with 5, start with 6, just start small and you can build upon that. So if you guys have any questions, I would love to help you along your journey. So leave those in the comments below, and we will see you next time.
He likes it.